Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wave Channel 5 as we continue our series, Our Town, as we take a look at the businesses that make up downtown Greenville. In conjunction with Main Street Greenville, I'm Alex Warner, along with videographer Nick Schmidt, and today we've come here on East 3rd Street, 109 East 3rd to be exact, with EB Real Estate, and with us is Eric Brown, the owner. And Eric, let's talk just a little bit. First of all, a little bit about your background.
Okay, well, originally not from Darke County. We've lived here for 13 years now, my wife and I, Angie. She's originally from Versailles. We met down at Wright State going to college, and after we got married, we moved back to Darke County. So
13 years you've been here, so that means about another 27. 40 years is what it takes to be a native Darke County, and you know that now.
That's what I've heard. That's what I've heard. No, this community has been wonderful. They've accepted me with open arms, and this is the best choice we ever made, was to return to Darke County.
So you said that you went to Wright State, and then you were telling me earlier you got your bachelor's degree in what?
I did. I got a bachelor's degree in organizational management from Wright State, and not originally from this area at all. Came from an Air Force family. Mom and Dad were stationed at Wright Pat, and that's how we ended up here in Ohio.
So how did organizational management, how did that lead you into real estate, and how long have you been in real estate?
Okay, well, I've been in real estate just going on almost 10 years now. And after graduating from Wright State, I went into some retail management with Walmart and some other big name retailers. And that was just basically learning how to manage people and tasks and the whole operations of large buildings and the retail aspect. And that led into retail, real estate, which has always been a lifelong passion of mine. Yeah, even since a little kid, I always wanted to have houses and fix them up and sell them, or I always loved the This Old House Hour and the Bob Vila show, and that kind of just grew as I got older. That passion grew, and I got into real estate when I realized I no longer wanted to work 70 hours a week and travel all over the country with a large retail outfit. So I was given the opportunity to do that, to get my license, and I started part-time in real estate and worked my way into a full-time position. So
I bet you were really tough to play a monopoly. You were tough on leases and rents, right?
Yeah. It's and I enjoy playing that with my kids at home, and I'm relentless on them, I'll tell you.
So anyhow, you met your wife down at Wright State. She's from Versailles, and that's what brought you up here. How long have you been on your own now? Because you're fairly new as far as your own real estate agency.
We opened our doors in January of this year. It's 2015. So we've been on our own about 4 months now, and we have just been absolutely blessed. We have seen so many success stories, and it's just wonderful to get to work with the amazing people that we've met and known. I was with a previous company for 8 years before that, here local in town, and they were a great company to work with, but it was just time to go on my own. You get to a certain point when it's time to spread your wings and do your own thing, and I appreciate them and everything that they've done for me. But we've had a wonderful 4 months so far, and we're looking forward to many more.
Tell me just a little bit, what is required to obtain your first of all, your real estate license, and then is there further training, I assume, then to become a real estate broker?
Yes, that is correct. To get a real estate license, basically you just have to have a high school degree, and you have to have taken the required classes, which there's 4 required classes for the state of Ohio, and then you have to pass your exam. And once you've achieved those things, then you can begin selling real estate as a licensee under a broker. To get your broker, it's a little bit more requirements. They do require in Ohio now an associate's degree to get your broker's license. There is another set of classes normally, some other required classes, college level classes that are required to then get your broker's license designation. So it's a little bit to do, but if you have a love and a passion for real estate like I do, it's well worth it.
So how does this work then? You have somebody comes walking in off the street. What has attracted them to you? I mean, what kind of marketing and advertising do you do? Being new like this, and you've been here, so your name's out there, but still, brand new business.
Absolutely. That was a tough decision we had to make when we first opened our doors, is where are you going to allocate limited funds for marketing and advertising? And we've found that word of mouth obviously is always going to be your number one. You take care of your clients, they're going to take care of you, they're going to send their friends and family your way. And that's always been the core of our business right there. We've obviously taken advantage of a website like most businesses do, social media, Facebook, Twitter, all those. We're all live on those, and we keep active with those type of things to just to keep engage the public, and that helps a lot. So we don't do a whole lot with print advertising just simply because of the cost, and we don't feel it's as effective as it could be. Yeah, so
that's changed over the years, hasn't it?
And it's unfortunate, but the way the world is going, it's really the way it is. But again, the word of mouth is the biggest thing. It's in any business. If you take care of your customers, they're going to take care of you.
How did you happen to decide to locate here on East 3rd Street in the downtown Greenville area?
That's a great question. And
I thank you.
Yeah, that was one of those things that just kind of happened into us. I actually own this building that we're in. We had actually, before I decided to go off on my own, had an opportunity to purchase this building from Craig and Lisa Francis. And so I purchased this with a partner, and it had the open space. Nobody was in this space, so just the timing was perfect that we'd go ahead and move in here. Now, with that said, I've always felt like, as I've thought and planned this day to be on my own, that I would want to be downtown. I feel like there's a true value of being downtown. Greenville has a great downtown scape, a lot of opportunities downtown, and I think that it's I don't know, it's just kind of nostalgic. I'm sure a lot of people want to be on the north end because of the new growth and Walmart and everything that's up there. But I think there's something to be said for downtown business and just the closeness, all the banks, the attorneys, the courthouse, everything that Greenville downtown has to offer.
Now, this building, if I'm not mistaken, at one time was a motel, correct?
That is correct. Many years ago, it was a motel, and then it was turned into efficiency apartments, which is what we have now. It's one bedroom and efficiency apartments. And they are basically, our goal here is set up for low income. And that's what we try to serve in this facility is our low income. We have 16 apartments in this building.
Wow.
Yeah, quite a few. And they're all utilities included. We're able to provide that for people that are on fixed incomes. It's just a wonderful opportunity just to give people like that in our community a place to stay where they can afford. The utilities are fixed, so it's not a big adjustment during the different seasons, and we feel like Craig and Lisa did an awesome job at that, and we've just kind of taken over and kind of continued to carry that torch. So
again, this is 109 East 3rd Street, and your phone number?
Our phone number is 937-548-HOME or 4663. So
4663. Yeah. And hours, when's the office open? Because I know you're out and about any time of the day, but your regular office hours?
Regular office hours are 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. And then we will be having some Saturday hours here soon. And it's not unusual also to find us open during the First Friday events and some other special downtown events too. So,
well, we're here with Eric Brown of EB Real Estate, and we'll be back in just a minute. We're going to take a look at some of the properties that Eric has to offer and talk a little bit about the real estate market in general as you watch this program here, as we take a look at those businesses that make up downtown Greenville here on the Wave, Channel 5. We'll be back in just a moment. Alex Warner along with Eric Brown here at EB Real Estate. Let's talk a little bit, Eric, about real estate in general here in Greenville and Darke County, the status of real estate market right now.
Oh, the status of real estate market, it's now May 2015 and things are heating up. We are so relieved to see an uptick in the economy, an uptick in the housing market. I've been licensed for, like I said, almost 10 years. And what I've seen, I got my license just as the real estate market was taking its downturn. And it has just been, it's been a blessing and been wonderful to see the market start to come back up, see the home values rising, see people having opportunities with lending to get and purchase homes. To me, it's just a wonderful time right now. I feel like consumers are confident, and I feel like home values are returning to where they should be, and that's great for everybody.
So that bubble that burst is starting to blow back up. Is that what we're saying?
I think a little bit. I don't know if it's blowing back up, but I think it was definitely a readjustment that was somewhat, in some ways, was needed. But we're seeing a lot of consumer confidence. We're seeing all price ranges of homes, the amount of sales going up, and that's encouraging to everyone.
Yeah. So would you say this is a buyer's market or a seller's market, or it just depends which way you're coming? It's perspective, right?
Yeah, it absolutely is perspective, and that's a great question because there are still some deals to be had out there. Don't get me wrong. There's always going to be great deals. There's going to be estates. There's going to be distressed homes that'll be available either through just lack of maintenance or foreclosure, whatever the situation might be, where you can get a home for a very reasonable price, put the money back into it, and have yourself a really nice home. But I would also say that there is a low inventory right now. I mean, there's not a whole lot of homes for sale in certain price ranges. Now, you might have a few price ranges that might be a little flooded, but right now we're seeing the 150 to 225 price range is pretty scarce. People, those buyers in those price ranges, it's tough to find a home. Also, homes in the country are very in demand. We are so blessed here in Darke County to have lots of outlying areas with lots of old country farmhouses and even newer built homes, but those are in demand. A lot of buyers are really looking for that type of property, and they're becoming harder and harder to find.
Now, in conjunction with that, what would be like as far as banking right now, loans and so forth, and how do you deal with the banks, the financial institutions?
We have some absolute wonderful lenders here in Darke County, whether it be our local banks, whether it be, we've got some big, large branches. You got your Fifth Thirds and your Chases. You got your Second National, your Greenville National, your Greenville Federal, Performance Mortgage, Mercer Savings. We have some wonderful lenders here, and all the staff, they're also great to work with. They'll explain everything that needs to be done. But I think lending right now is as good a place as it has been in the last 5 years. It's actually better. The money's a little bit looser. Interest rates are still very, very low.
What are interest rates now? Just either 15-year, 30-year, variable, fixed, yada yada.
Yeah, it kind of varies on the program, but you're still down around 4.5% to 5%. I mean, there you can still get some really low rates. And I always encourage people to stay local, stay off the internet for loans. I mean, that's just, I always feel better being able to go to the person that wrote me the loan, go to the building where it was done, and ask questions if there's problems. The local branches, we have excellent service from our local branch banks right here in town. So, but for first-time home buyers, there's still tons of programs out there. There's tons of 0% down, low-interest loans that a buyer can get into. This is a great opportunity as any for someone to buy a home.
Okay. And speaking of which, now let's walk through a scenario. We have a young couple come in, let's say in their late 20s, early 30s, they've been renting. Now it's time to buy that starter home. And I know right behind us here, and Nick will get a picture of this, you have a house here, we'll say over on Washington Avenue here in Greenville, and it's priced right now at around $57,000. Somebody walks in the door, kind of walk us through the steps that are involved, first of all, in you promoting that house, and then once they take the bait and decide that's the house they want to start with, then what do we do?
Well, basically, the biggest thing is getting the house out there, getting the marketing done. And of course, most of us know open houses are very popular for getting the word out. Online is huge. We choose to do a lot of marketing online, Realtor.com, Zillow. We find that about 85% of people that buy homes have already know the home inside and out before they ever call me.
Really? Yeah. That many people are...
Oh, yeah. The online is huge, especially with the amount of pictures that are available nowadays. Information on county websites, previous sale information. People are able to really do a lot of research, and which is nice for us as agents because it narrows down the amount of homes sometimes we have to see. Right. But there's still the need for us to get in and really see the home and inspect it and go through it with them. So,
okay, how does that work? I know somebody professionally goes around because you can take the virtual tours, correct? Absolutely. So does somebody, is that what they do for a job, and then they sell that or market that to different real estate agencies, or how's that work?
Well, it's a combination. Most of those companies just go through and use the local MLS system, the multiple listing system. And what that is that's the local board, which I'm the president-elect for the Darke County Board of Realtors. And we have our own MLS. There's also an MLS in Dayton and also one over in Miami County that runs all the way through Lima. I'm a member of actually all three. But our local one here, we all share, all the different offices in our association share this information online, and a lot of that information is taken off of there and then shared with other sites, and that's where Realtor.com pulls all their information from, and it's really nice to get all that information out there worldwide. So
somebody comes in and they tell you kind of what you have in mind. Well, if you don't have something specifically listed with your agency, then you can go and deal with somebody else, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. Any home, I always tell buyers, any home that's got a sign in the yard, even if for sale by owner, I can help them. And that's a story for a different day. But any sign yard that's got a real estate sign in it, EB Real Estate can represent them as a buyer, and we'll be happy to. Can get them the information, can arrange the showings, and handle the whole procedure for them. But to get back to your original question, what is that scenario when they first walk in, they're looking for that home? Well, the first thing I always ask them is, are you pre-approved, or what's the financing situation look like? Occasionally you will have buyers that come in that are full cash buyers, and that's a wonderful thing. It takes a lot of the hoops out of it when you can come in and write a check for a home. Unfortunately, most of us, like myself, we're not in that position. However, getting through that financing is not nearly the headache that people make it out to be. I've found in my 10 years that most people are more afraid of what the bank's going to say to them, and that's why they don't want to go meet with the bank. And they're just nervous. They just don't know. know, especially first-time home buyers. They're unsure of what the process looks like. They're unsure of exactly what the bank's going to say. They have no idea what price range they could be approved for. I just recently had a gentleman that when he went and got all his information ran, he found out he could afford twice the home he actually could. Now, he's very frugal, and he made the wise decision to keep his price range on the low end, but he was pleasantly surprised to find out that what he makes, he could actually afford more homes. So that fear is really what holds a lot of first-time home buyers back from jumping out there and getting into the market, is just the unknown of what's available. So
this young couple that we're talking about in their late 20s, maybe a kid or two, they walk in and said, hey, Eric, we've been online. We found this house on Washington Avenue. It's in our price range. We kind of like it. We've taken the virtual tour. What's the next step along the line? Then you take them there, walk them through it?
Sure. Yeah, I'll set up a showing. I'll take them through. We'll go over the details. We'll look at all the disclosures and everything that the seller has given us so that we have a good idea of what the home is and, any issues that might have or repairs that might be needed. And then the next step, I always, if they haven't already done, is I always encourage them to go get financed. Let's go to the bank, whatever bank they choose. I always encourage people to start with wherever you bank now. If you have a checking account, if you have a savings account, go talk to them first.
Because they know you.
They know you. You already have a rapport with them. That's typically the best place to start. But there's all kinds of options here in Darke County as far as lending, and it's wonderful to be able to have those options like we do. But that's the big part, is finding out, making sure that the house that you want, that price range, you can actually afford that house. There's nothing more devastating than having people come to me and say, oh, we love this house. We want to go see it. We go look at it. Then they go to the bank, and the bank says, no, sorry, you can't. We can't loan that much to you. So I always say, get your ducks in a row. Let's get our financing figured out, then we'll start shopping for houses. But unfortunately, human nature, it doesn't happen that way. We like to get online and see what's out there before we really know what's the best thing to do is. But not a huge hurdle. It can be overcome, but I do like to see the financing first. But if it doesn't work out, yeah, sometimes we're pleasantly surprised that you're in the right price range anyway. So,
so this young couple's come in, they've met with you, they've seen the house, they've got their financing now. So now it's time to make an offer.
That's right. It's time to put it in paper is what I always say. Let's put it on paper and make it official. And that just takes a 15, 20-minute process. We'll sit down, we go over the paperwork. I always like to supply the buyers with a copy of the contract before we sit down and write the offer, because I feel like it's important that they know what they're signing, they know what they're filling out. I even encourage them, if you want, here's a copy of the contract, take it to your attorney. Have your attorney check over it, make sure you're comfortable with all the terms, because we use a pre-printed contract that's provided by our board, and it's basically boilerplate language that keeps everybody in line as far as the normal stipulations of a real estate transaction. So, and same with all the state required forms for lead-based paint, because if the home was built before 1978, it'd be required to have a lead-based paint. And every residential property that transfers in the state of Ohio is required to have a residential property disclosure. Well, I shouldn't say every, 99%, unless it's in an estate or another, other situation like that. Those are required to inform the buyer of what exactly they're getting into with the home.
Is it easier? I assume it's easier if you're representing the seller and the buyer both.
It kind of varies. The representation is a funny thing because it comes down to agency. And what basically agency means is, who are you working for, Eric? Well, it is very difficult to work for two different parties on two different sides of the table. Basically, what we do as real estate agents is we become basically a neutral party at that point. And I explain this to my sellers when I list their house. I say, hey, I represent for you. My job is to get you as most money as for your house. But if somebody comes through an open house or calls me and wants to write an offer, at that point I become a neutral party. I won't share any of the seller's information with the buyer, and vice versa. Okay. I just basically work the paperwork back and forth until we come to a good agreement. So. Okay.
And then if you're representing the buyer and another agency is representing the seller, as that comes together, then is the commission then, is that split 50-50?
Yeah, that's always a question people ask me is commission rates. How does that work out? Or I'll have buyers ask me, well, if we get this together, how much do I owe you? And I always say, well, buyers don't ever pay anything. They got enough to pay. They're buying the house. Right. So you don't have to worry about paying the realtor also. The realtor is paid through the seller who has the home listed. And that's how that commission is handled. And it is split typically, depending on the contract and how it's set out, it's typically split 50-50 between the two agents.
How's it split as far as like closing costs? Is that usually the buyer or the seller?
Well, it just depends on what the contract says. Nowadays, a lot of that can be negotiated. If you've got some extra closing costs, who pays what taxes, how the taxes are prorated. There's so many different stipulations now, which is very important. I always feel like it's very important to use a licensed realtor that knows what they're doing, because you'd be surprised how those few little dollars add up at the end of closing, and how if you don't pay attention, if you don't have somebody paying attention to it for you, they'll add up quick, and you might be disappointed when you could have sit down at the table. So
I've got to imagine there's quite a bit of satisfaction, especially with a first-time buyer like this young couple we're kind of using as a reference here. There's got to be some satisfaction when you hand the keys over to them.
There absolutely is. It's just a great, and really, it's not just first-time home buyers. It's anybody. I mean, to me, selling a house is a huge transaction. Normally, it's your biggest purchase you'll ever make in your life. I mean, that's the biggest thing. But it's such a satisfaction, whether it be, closing out an estate. A lot of time there'll be real estate left over in a state that has to be sold. The relief on the people in the state that are selling the state, the trustees or whatnot, the relief in their eyes when it's all done. You know what I mean? The first time home buyer when they're getting their first new place, or people that are moving up, they're trading up houses. That relief that, yes, we got this one sold. Now we can move on to our bigger place or go to build. I've got a couple listings right now that they really want me to get them sold this summer because they'd really like to break ground this fall and get their new home built. So
I'm trying to think, what was it? The Jeffersons, the old TV show, the Jeffersons, moving on up to the big time, right?
That's exactly right. So, and almost always in my job, the situation is good. I mean, we do have, unfortunately, there are some situations when people are in hard places and they have to get properties sold. But I would say, for the most part, 95% of the transactions, you're right, it's very, very satisfying to be able to get that done. And that's where we found success, is when we're able to celebrate and really get to know those clients. That's when they almost become like family, and then that's when they trust us, and then they'll send their family and friends to us. So, yeah.
Well, this is Eric Brown from EB Real Estate. We're going to come back in just a minute, talk a little bit about some other services they offer here on East 3rd Street at EB Real Estate. We'll be back in just a minute. Back with Eric Brown here at EB Real Estate. And Eric, let's talk a little bit about some other services you offer, specifically the rentals and then also the property management.
Yes. Yeah, where I got my start in real estate was first with rentals. I wanted to get into flipping houses and in real estate investments, and that's what then pushed me into getting my real estate license and led to where I am now. But my passion has always been the rental side, and I think it's basically just because it seems like every community I go to, there's a shortage of quality rentals. There really just is. There's a shortage of good rentals that are available for people that are safe and well maintained, updated, and I think that's just such an important aspect of any community, to have good rental, low-income housing like that. Our theory here is I won't manage a property unless I'd be willing to live in it myself. So,
oh, really? That's a great philosophy.
Well, and that's the way it's kept us successful, and we feel like it's what needs to be done in order to keep the quality of housing up. I mean, let's face it, not everyone is a home buyer. And it may have nothing to do with their income. A lot of it may have to do with how much do they want to do with the maintenance. I know there's many days I'd like to trade my place in for a condo and not have to worry about mowing the grass or fixing that roof leak or whatever the issue might be.
Let me ask you this while I'm thinking about that. You said you'd like to have a condo. There are not many condominiums in Dart County.
No, there's really not. That's definitely a need that we're going to see. We've already, I think myself and some other investors have identified that need. Now we're just working on where that next set will go up. I would be looking forward to it in the future. We have identified some land, and hopefully it'll work out here in the future. But there's definitely a need for condominiums. You've got a lot of folks coming off the farm still, and as the baby boomers age and retire, we're going to see more and more of that. So, and it's just it's difficult to find those in this area, and hopefully that's something we'll be able to get put together.
Because I know a lot of people, like I say, because I'm one of that baby boomer age group, you're going to downsize, but you want to downsize to quality,
right.
And I just don't see that around Greenville.
Right. Yeah, that's one thing Greenville definitely has a shortage of, and that's hopefully something that hopefully I'll be involved with that. I feel like I will. I feel like we do have an opportunity in the future with myself and a few investors to be able to provide that type of housing and then long term. And we're seeing it even with young professionals. There's a lot of young professionals out there that if they're not, even some of them that are married and do have kids, they said they'd much rather have a 2-bedroom condo or townhouse opposed to owning a single family home.
Now, how many properties, you say rentals, how many properties does your firm manage right now?
We manage about 140 units. Now that a unit, there might be 6 units in one building. So it's actually, individual, units would be an individual tenant. So, and those vary, our biggest unit is 26 units, Our biggest complex is 26 units. Yep, it's direct.
That's here in Greenville?
That's here in Greenville. It's up on Children's Home Bradford Road. It's on Northtown Communities is what it's called. Okay. It's been around for 30, 40 years. Those have been up there, and they're comprised of 6-unit townhouses as well as got some duplexes and some triplexes. So we were fortunate enough to purchase those last year, and we put a lot of work into them, and actually updating the sewer treatment plant right now as well as some new wells. So putting some big improvements to them to just improve the quality of life up there. So, but that's our largest, and then we go all the way down to single family homes, which those are sprinkled out all over Darke County. We have those, and the way it basically works, many of the homes that we manage belong to clients of ours, and they'll come in and they'll basically either don't want to deal with the day-to-day of management, or maybe they only live in Darke County for 6 months or 4 months out of the year. Maybe they go to Florida or out west or wherever. So we have a lot of opportunities with that. And then you do have some that are just young professionals that don't want to mess with it. They want the tax write-off. They want the benefits of having investment properties, but they don't want the everyday headaches. So we're allowed to provide a service that basically we handle all the maintenance, we handle all the marketing, we handle all the leasing. It almost as if the owner doesn't even exist. I mean, they basically, in a nutshell, the way we sell it to our owners is you basically receive a check every month, and if there's a big issue, we'll get a hold of you.
And then in exchange for your service, then you get a percentage or a flat fee based on, well, I assume it's got to be a percentage.
Yeah, it's typically a percentage of the gross rent is how we do that. And that's, of course, negotiable depending on how many units you have, what kind of units. And we did just run a special for our grand opening that we offered a lower rate through the end of May. So we have actually seen some pretty good turnout. People diving into giving property management a chance because of that lower rate. So
now, do you have certain groups or individuals that take care of those properties for you? You got somebody that does the painting, somebody does this, somebody does that?
Yeah, we do. We use all licensed and insured contractors. We just feel like that's the right thing to do. We ourselves, EB Real Estate, we do not lift a paintbrush. We don't turn a screwdriver. We don't do anything because that's not what we're good at. That's not our specialty. We use licensed contractors that handle all of our work, and it's just the safe way to do it for liability reasons. And besides that, I mean, if you spread yourself too thin, you won't be able to do a good job at what you're doing. So we've tried to leave that separate to subcontractors, and we've been happy with that. So,
well, it's obvious that Eric's really enthused about his profession here. And again, the phone number here at EB Real Estate.
Yep, is 548-4663 or the word home, 548-HOME.
And that's here on 109 East 3rd Street. And boy, thanks for taking the time out to kind of brief us on the real estate market in general, and good luck to getting started. You say you've only been here, what, 3-4 months?
Been here, yeah. We opened at the end of January, so it'll be 4 months and going strong, and it's just been a true blessing. So thank you.
Well, this has been Eric Brown from EB Real Estate, and we're glad you could join us here. On behalf of Nick Schmidt, our videographer, I'm Alex Warner, and once again, we'll see you sometime soon here as we take a look at those businesses that make up the downtown area here in Greenville, Ohio. Good night, everybody.